What is up, guys? Stark here. In today's character spotlight, I am taking a look at Thomas Edison. So before I get started on this, I just want to say that there are only a few characters left for character spotlights, and I do imagine before I finish the list, there'll be a few more introduced into the game. But I figure, by the end of next week, I will have them all done, and so I'm gonna need to do something else to fill the void for videos. But I do have a lot of ideas, and it won't be like last time where I completely vanish off the face of the earth until there's a whole bunch of new characters. I will be staying on top of it, and I will be bringing other videos your way. I've kind of made the decision to focus more of my attention to Fate instead of the other games I play. So definitely expect more Fate Grand Order content and more videos coming in the upcoming weeks and months. But for now, we're going to stick with the character spotlight here with Thomas Edison. So he is a caster and he's a 4-star, so he will go up to level 80. And at level 80, he will have 11,882 HP and 7,952 attack. So this will rank him 37th overall in HP and 60th overall in attack. So he's basically, your normal caster. They're very low on the the attack stats, and very high on the HP stats. So he's more of like a end scale type of person, where he's like super high on HP and super low on attack. Some of the other casters are more of like a balance. But, for him, his strong suit is definitely going to be his HP and not his attack. And, that's fine for him, because he's a pretty tanky servant, and he is a very solid support servant with a very, very interesting, very unique set of skills and, functions for this character. If you do decide to max him out, he will end up with 16,407 HP and 11,628 attack. So moving on here to his servant skills. First up is the Morph C skill, which is a self buff that will increase his defense for 3 turns, starting at 16% at level 1, going up to 24% at level 10. So this is a very nice skill because it has a solid defense increase comboed with his already high HP stat, and he will be pretty difficult to take down unless he's like focus fired completely. But then if he's, if you focus fire on him, then that opens up your allies to be able to survive longer in the fights. His second skill is going to be the Mass Production A. This will gain critical stars every turn for 5 turns, and will also increase his Noble Phantasm gauge for 5 turns. So again, this is a pretty solid skill. It does last quite a while, but unfortunately, because of that, it has a longer cooldown time. So that's kind of a drawback, but you're going to be gaining at max level 10 stars every turn, and you're also going to increase your Noble Phantasm gauge by 10% every turn. So it's, it's very nice, anytime you have critical star generation, like that's instant like that, is always nice. And 10 stars every turn is pretty good. It's nothing to, sneeze at. And then for the gauge increase, that'll be a 50% over the course of the skill. So if you just have, odds are by the duration of the 5 turns, you're going to be able to get the other 50% from other means, either by craft essence or by normal attacks or skills or something. So 5 turns is a long time, and you'll definitely be able to get your Noble Phantasm gauge filled up completely by the time this skill ends. And then for his third and final skill, this is the main, focal point of this character, and his unique feature is going to be the Concept Improvement A+. This will increase Noble Phantasm Overcharge by 2 levels to 1 ally, and then it will also increase critical star drop rate for that ally for 1 turn. So this is a very unique skill, being able to just instantly increase the overcharge of a Noble Phantasm. So you could just use this on, you can use it on any character. There are characters that have really good overcharge effects, and we'll talk about those later, and you'll just be able to instantly up it by 2 levels, like I keep saying. It's very, very good if you use it in the right team setup with the right characters, and then you also increase their critical star gather rate as well. So that's an added bonus as well, and you can use it on any ally you want, and just overall it's a very good skill. Probably something you want to max as soon as you can, so you could use it maybe multiple times in the same fight. Overall though, his skill set isn't, amazing, but that third skill is definitely very unique, and you can use, you can get a lot of benefits out of it. Moving on to his class skills, first up is going to be the Item Construction EX. This will increase debuff success rate by 4%, and then for his second class skill, it's going to be the Territory Creation EX, and this will increase Arts Card effectiveness by 4% as well. So now moving on to his Ascension. For his first Ascension, you're going to need 4 caster pieces and 50,000 quantum pieces. For his second Ascension, you're going to need 10 caster pieces, 6 forbidden pages, and 150,000 quantum pieces. For his third Ascension, you're going to need 4 caster monuments, 24 proof of hero, and 4 Eternal Gears, as well as 500,000 Quantum Pieces. And then for his 4th and final ascension, you're going to need 10 Caster Monuments, 8 Eternal Gears, 6 Black Beast Greases, and you're going to need 1,500,000 Quantum Pieces. And then for his skills, to max a skill out from level 1 to 10, you're going to need 14 Gems of Caster, 14 Magic Gems of Caster, 14 Secret Gems of Caster, 36 Proof of Hero, 12 Forbidden Pages, 8 Heart of the Foreign God, 12 Claws of Chaos, 1 Crystallized Lore, and 27,200,000 Quantum Pieces. Next up here is his command cards, and he's going to have 1 Quick, 3 Arts, and 1 Buster. And then for his Noble Phantasm, it is also going to be Arts, and this will deal heavy damage to all enemies, and then it will also inflict Noble Phantasm Seal for 1 turn and Skill Seal for 1 turn. And then on the Overcharge, it will decrease critical hit rate for 3 turns. So this is a pretty solid Noble Phantasm. It does a little bit of damage, but the main use here is going to be the debuffs that it inflicts in the enemies. It will target all enemies, so you'll seal their Noble Phantasm, seal the skills, and decrease their crit rate. So you're just going to be doing a massive debuff to the enemy, and there is a rank up quest that you could do that will also add an additional effect that will decrease the attack of all enemies for 3 turns as well on the Overcharge. So again, you're just throwing in another debuff, and the turns you use his Noble Phantasm, you're not going to be taking much damage. There's no Noble Phantasm, they can't use their skills, their attack's going to be reduced, they pretty much won't be able to crit. So it's a pretty good Noble Phantasm as far as debuffing goes, but you're not going to be doing that much damage with it overall. You could also, in theory, use his own skill on himself to buff up his Overcharge effects to do, get like the maximum 5 or the maximum 50% for his Noble Phantasm. And then you can combo that with other characters to get get like a massive attack decrease, and it does last 3 turns as well. So if you have someone else in there that you could put in for 3 turns that can do a decrease in attack as well, you're going to be doing pretty good. So now moving on to some of the craft essences that you could use. First up is going to be his level 10 Bond craft essence, which is going to be the Light of Civilization. So while equipped, this will increase the Noble Phantasm gain of all allies by 15%. So this is your generic Noble Phantasm gain craft essence, although it's not a bad one to use on this character because you do want to generate your Noble Phantasm as quickly as possible. However, there are other options you can use. So first up is going to be a Fragment of 2030. Now this is just going to be very good because you'll get that constant flow of stars every single turn on top of his second skill, which will give you stars as well. So essentially you're going to be getting anywhere between 18 and 20 stars every single turn during the duration of his skill. So obviously that is a fantastic amount of stars, and you can definitely make good uses of that if you combo him in with other characters that can do pretty good crit damage. Next up here is going to be Kaleidoscope and the Little Halloween Devil. Now in this situation I would prefer the Little Halloween Devil over Kaleidoscope. While Kaleidoscope does give you that instant burst for your Noble Phantasm, the Little Halloween Devil does give you more of a benefit. You'll start with 50% of your Noble Phantasm gauge filled, which is perfect because after his skill wears off, you'll get that extra 50%. So in theory, you could not even do any single attacks with him, and your Noble Phantasm gauge will be filled at the end of the duration of his skill. But you're also going to increase your Noble Phantasm gain by 20%. So I definitely think this is the go-to craft essence for this character if you're not trying to use crits. You could also go ahead and use the Divine Banquet though. This will increase your Noble Phantasm gain by 25%, so you are getting a little bit more out of it than the Halloween Devil, but you don't get the added effect of starting the battle with the Noble Phantasm gauge filled at 50%. So you can weigh your options there. I do personally think it would be better to use the Halloween Devil just to get the Noble Phantasm ready when you need it. But, it is up to you, and not everyone will have the Little Halloween Devil because it was event exclusive. So if you are looking for another option, you can go with the Divine Banquet. So then moving on to the character in review portion. So first up, we're going to talk about some of the servants you can use with him. So unfortunately, much like it was in previous videos, the better servants, or some of the better servants you can use, aren't available in the game yet. So that is unfortunate, but there are some pretty good combinations you can make with him. So first up here, we're going to be talking about Gilgamesh. So Gilgamesh, like I said, is a good combination to that because his Overcharge effect will deal extra damage to servants. So you want to boost that up as much as possible because odds are you're going to be fighting against servants in most of your fights. And obviously if you're not going against a servant, you might still use Gilgamesh, but this combination is basically geared towards fighting servants. In addition to that, you're also going to be getting more the crit star gather rate for his third skill as well. Now Gilgamesh does have a really high crit gather rate to begin with, but this will just make it even higher, and you definitely monopolize all of the stars. And you know, you really want to do that with Gilgamesh. You want to get as many stars as possible on him. So if Gilgamesh was a good option for offense, then Nightingale is a pretty solid option for defense. Now she doesn't make too much use of his Noble Phantasm skill, where you increase the overcharge, because her Noble Phantasm kind of clashes with his in a little bit, where she will decrease the strength of Noble Phantasm, but he'll go ahead and seal the Noble Phantasm. So that kind of like cancels each other out. However, you're not using her for that. You would be using her for her decrease in attack. So combo hers with Thomas Edison's, and they're going to be doing a massive decrease in attack. Now it is just for that one turn, but it's still going to be a huge decrease in attack for that one turn. So it's a pretty solid combination to go ahead and use. Plus, you're going to be having all the debuffs from Edison and all the buffs from Nightingale. So overall, it's just a very solid combo, and they are both arts. So you're going to be keeping that Noble Phantasm gain and generation going throughout the fight, and you could probably end up spamming this Noble Phantasm combination multiple times in the same fight. So another good option to use is Coup Alter. He will definitely benefit from Thomas Edison's third skill to increase his overcharge, and then you can get the maximum out of his attack and defense increase. So at maximum overcharge is going to be a 70% increase for one turn, but that one turn is going to be doing an insane amount of damage. So you know, he's definitely not a bad option to use. So last but not least, the last servant I want to talk about here is Tamino no Mai. So she is a very nice servant in combination with Edison, because you're going to be using her, you know, her skills to decrease his skills cooldowns, and they're both arts, so you can keep that Noble Phantasm generation going. And you could also use Edison's third skill to buff, you know, Tamino's Noble Phantasm, and then you're going to increase your Noble Phantasm gauge for all of your allies as well. So you're basically just going to keep spamming your Noble Phantasms throughout the fight, and you know, that's definitely not a bad combination. Just have another, you know, a third character that's going to be doing heavy damage, to maybe an AoE effect, and you can just keep spamming them off and clear it out pretty fast, in theory anyway. Okay, so now moving on here to the overall rankings. So first up, for his stats, he's going to get a 3.1 out of 5. You know, he doesn't have that good in attack stats, but his HP stat is very high. So overall, that'll average out here to about a 3, and you know, 3.1. So now moving on here to his skill rankings, I am going to give him 3 stars in this. He does have some solid skills. They're definitely not the best skills, and you know, he does have that third skill that's very unique in the fact that it gives the overcharge, but a lot of situations don't really call for it, and you won't even need it. And honestly, you might be better off just substituting him out for a different character who can, you know, benefit more to the team than just having an overcharge increase. Honestly, a lot of times you're not even going to need that overcharge increase, or you can get the overcharge by other means. So, you know, it is a pretty situational thing, and, you know, sometimes it just might not even be worth it to use it. Next up is his Noble Phantasm. It's a pretty solid Noble Phantasm. It's not going to be doing that much damage, but its strong suit definitely lies in the fact that it's going to be a heavy debuffer, and it does that very well. So I'm going to give it a 3 star out of 5 overall for your Noble Phantasm. And then for his survivability, he does have that first skill that will increase his defense, and he's got some pretty high base HP, but overall he doesn't offer much in terms of evasion or healing or anything like that. So overall, I am going to just give him a 2.5 out of 5. And then for versatility, I'm going to give him 2 stars in this. Now this might seem a little bit low, but I'm playing on the point I was talking about before, in the fact that it might not just be worth it to use his third skill. Like, if you're putting him in there, you're going to use him for his third skill, and a lot of the times he doesn't offer much outside of that, and you don't need it. Like I said before, you probably don't need it that much. It's really cool to use, and you can definitely find some nice combinations to get some really cool things done, but it's kind of like a gimmick. It's definitely not necessary, and you probably don't need this character to beat any content exclusively. So overall, he falls pretty short, and you do need some support with him to keep him going and keep him, you know, sustained long enough to be able to use his combos. So overall, you know, he just falls a little bit flat, and he's a caster as well, and there are definitely tons of other caster options that I would rather personally be using instead of this guy. So overall, that's going to give him a 2.7 out of 5. He's definitely not a bad servant, but he is pretty situational, and he doesn't offer much outside of his third skill, so he does lose a lot of points for that. So unfortunately, he's not going to get too much of a higher rating here. So that's going to wrap up this character spotlight, guys. You know, don't forget to check the links below. I have links, you know, to my Twitch, my Twitter, my Discord. You know, definitely check those out. You know, I'm always welcoming new people to the Discord where we can hang out, talk about the game. So yeah, you know, definitely feel free to check that out. And I'll leave you guys here with his Noble Phantasm, and I'll see you guys next time.